Hello there, welcome back to UX Live. I'm Jack with
Hadad, engineering lead at Exuus. I'm a software engineer.
as usual in this show I invite designers, but today I've invited one of the best front-end developer, but he also does back-end. So he's a full stack, but he's more into front-end. So Hadad, can you start by telling us how do you like the design asset to be delivered to you?
Okay, very interesting question. How do I like the asset to be shared with me?
Yes.
Okay, so I think the key points here would be documentation. I hate design. Not hate is a big word. I dislike the design without documentation.
Okay.
It means then you have to find a way around
Yes.
things, right? Yeah. So when the assets are being shared, then it's also nice to share things like fonts, right? The size that were used in the design, right? The weights, probably if it's bold and whatever, right? Yeah, so those are the kind of details that I expect to have when someone like the designer is sharing the asset, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and when it's about images, I have a preference of SVGs because they tend to be less in size than the alternative, right? And it's easier to work with, right? And a good practice always tell designers before you share images, it's a good practice to compress them, right? There are tools out there that can help you compress without losing the quality of the image, right? Because when you have images, let's say for 3 MBs, right? It's hard for the users. It's not hard for the users, take long for the users to load images assets. Like the most expensive thing when loading a page on a website usually is the assets, right?
Okay.
The rest is really very easy. It's like very fast. But assets, they're ones that usually takes time. So that's when you want to make you want to perform your website, you want to make it as fast as you can. The first place to start looking is the assets, images, and the videos.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, how do you ensure that what you are implementing reflects exactly what the designers have shared on?
Okay. So here's a lot of iterations, implementation and feedback, feedback loop where we do things and then the designers also and the product team they test and see if what we've done reflect that was intended or what was designed. So yeah, probably a bunch of codes. Feedback loop, a lot of going back and then fixing few things because I'll admit designers tend to have an eye to details than devs, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so like a lot of feedback loop, like having a lot of code and making sure that at least we're on the same path.
Okay.
Right?
So, at some point, don't you feel like you want to tweak some designs the designers have shared?
It happens, but I try to do that when we're still thinking about what we are trying to design, right? When we're still under process of being designed, right? Not on the implementation phase, right? At least there, we share ideas like I think this should be better than what you propose, right? Because of this reason and this reason, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever I'm unhappy with something on the implementation phase, it's always a good thing that's to communicate with the designer and then if it makes sense. If it makes sense, then it has to be changed on the design of the mockup, and then as we can reflect exactly what we have on the mockup, not going impro on the implementation.
Okay.
Having to have some frustration on the presentation or the goals.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Then, so you have many design libraries up there. Which one do you prefer and why?
Front-end library or design libraries?
I mean front-end libraries.
Yeah, I'm biased on this because I've been using React for the past 3-4 years now, right? Yeah, so I like it more than what we have on right now, the industry in the market. There's a couple of reasons for that. It's very popular, means there's a lot of there's a whole ecosystem around it, a huge one. It gets answers to all the kind of issues or problem you may face, right? It's really fast, it's really tiny. Yeah. So the whole idea of it is just kind of It's a library. It's a small thing that you can add your own things on top of it, right?
Or do you mean you can modify it, or?
You cannot modify the core library. You can do that if you want to, right? You can do that. But what I mean there is like, what they offer you is just a simple way of doing things.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And then you can add your own logic on top of it. It's really tiny. It doesn't come with a lot of things out of the box, right? But the good things about it, there's a lot of now packages and libraries around it that you can add now. If you want to implement certain things, right, that's supported by React, you can add it, right? Out of the box it comes really tiny, and you can extend it with plugins and packages, and which makes it very flexible.
Okay. Apart from React, can you share like any other tool you prefer?
Yeah, so still on React, I think also my bias on it is because it's moving from a web platform to mobile very easy while using React and React Native, because the syntax looks kind of the same, right? The learning curve is not that steep, it's really, and then just that's one of the reasons mainly I like it that much. And there are a few other libraries out there. There's Vue.js, there is Svelte, good alternatives. Vue is very popular, by the way. I'm even sure right now it's more popular on GitHub than React. So those are really great libraries. And there's Next.js which is built on top of React. It's very popular right now. It's handling a lot of things that used to be a headache for devs, right? Like what I said, to compress image, right? Yes, there's tools that comes with it that helps you out of the box. You don't have to do anything, a lot of things, right? And that's probably why devs are liking it. So it's coming with a lot of things that you used to really spend your time doing, and that they're helping you with.
So React is the king.
Right. I would say React is the king right now.
Okay. So then, lastly, how do you make sure that if you are developing a platform which will be used by, let's say, 1 million users, once it's being accessed by all those users, the performance of the platform won't be affected?
It comes down to architecture and design patterns. So these are the high-level things that has to be. You have to think, right? Way before starting to do things, right? But there's also always business needs. A common pattern is where you just want to put something out there, right? Don't think too much about how performant it is, because how useful it is if it can handle millions of users and you don't have 100 users. It doesn't make sense, right?
Yes.
So the common pattern is like, okay, let's put something out there, an MVP product that people can use, right? And then we can think now about like deep architecture or design patterns or things to make it performant, right? But there always has to be a balance, right? You don't want to have also something that is very crappy in the beginning, then probably people won't use it, right? So it has to be a balance, but so you don't want to also over-engineering things, like spend a lot of time at the beginning just trying to think on how this thing can handle millions of users, because probably at the beginning you won't have millions of users. It has to be a balance there, but that's something that at some point there is a phase where an application gets where you now have to start thinking about making things the right way.
So if I get you right, does it mean that at any stage of development you can be able to restructure the entire?
But that also depends on how much you went the bad way, right? There's a concept called technical debt, right? So that depends on how much of the debt you collected. Yes, the technical debt you collected. It's like if you're just doing things to work at this stage, right? And there's this say that one of our guys here, usually he says that the app is held by the blood of Jesus. Right? So it's like
it's something like that.
Yes. So it's like there is this thing that is currently working. No one is allowed to touch it because you don't know what will happen if you start touching there. Then a few other things will break up there, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's already a bad pattern. It means that the code is mailing and it needs refactoring, right? Yeah, so at some point, don't go too much into. So if you've proved that this thing can work, right? It's already on the market, it can work, right?
Okay.
That's a good place to start thinking about now how to make it a performance, right?
Yes.
Because whenever something is well built, right, it's easier to change. Then after you can just, okay, we need this feature, so it's easier to change. Something what was not built the correct way, people tend to be skeptical about changing it because they don't know if it will break some other things, right?
Okay.
Yeah, if it's okay, then it's even make it faster now to start moving forward, right?
Yeah.
But when it's just very buggy, then people don't want to touch here or touch there, then it makes it very slow to change.
You also mentioned something about technical debt. Can you give us like an example of one?
Of one?
Yes.
Yeah, so one would be, an example I can give you is, let's say we have a feature about uploading files, right? And then at the moment we have, let's say, 200 active users, right?
Okay.
We are just uploading, let's say, 50 users. It's just an Excel file uploading, and then it's just a back upload to back registration, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So at the moment, the developer will implement the thing. The product guy will say, okay, we can attest that this thing is working. The QA guy can say, we can attest that this thing is working, right? But if it was not well done, right, then at some point where we have 100,000 of users, right? You upload the file and then the browser is hanging, right? It's stuck somewhere. It's not performing as used to perform. Right?
Okay.
You'll see that maybe they've implemented in a way that maybe given the time something to work, but not really done in a proper way. Yeah, because as one thing that you have to think about is like, okay, so this thing that I'm implementing, right? How easy is it to change in the future, right?
Okay.
And how easy is it to maintain? Those are the key features there, right? The key points there. And then when you're not thinking about it, the only thing you're thinking about is just making it work.
Okay.
Then there's few issues that will come with that.
That's interesting. So, if for instance I introduce a date, can someone else who is not me be able to tell that I've introduced that, or it's me who have to go back and then correct it?
No. It's something anyone on the team can spot, right? It's whenever you these days, I'm not sure if someone works on something alone and then just push it. We always have collaboration tools. One of it can be Git and GitHub, right? Okay. Yeah, so after you're done with what you're doing, you just push it somewhere there for people to review. So they go through your codes, right? Some people can also be lazy with reviewing, right? Yeah, but you can automate few things like, okay, check the quality of the code that you just pushed, right? If the tests are passing, tests can be like, okay, the features about logging in. Is the person really logging in, right? And then the quality assurance can still test, but we have automated tests that can run really fast than humans, right? Yeah, there are a few things that we can make sure that we reduce on the technical depths, right? But they still happen if, let's say, we have to deliver something to like really, really tiny, like in a few days, right? And then you have to compromise on a few things. But there's something I always say, it's like we have this concept of quality and content, right? Vis-a-vis the timeline. Yeah, so if the time is very short, you cannot have both. That's what I always say.
Choose one.
You have to choose one. It's either you have the quality but fewer features, right? Or you have the quality, lot of features that are just there hanging by the blood of Jesus. That was the thing. Yeah, so you cannot have both. So to have both, at least you also have to have time, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
thank you very much. That was very, very interesting. Then, lastly, can you tell us like one thing you hate about being a developer?
Okay, I think spending a lot of time with my computer is not healthy. I'll say that, right? I should spend less time with my computer because the screen time is the screen time is not healthy. Devs tend to spend their whole time and then they end up not being able to talk to people. So I want to spend less time and be as effective, right? As productive, and be social with everyone like human beings.
Okay.
Nice. Balance.
I see. So that was it for today. So thank you very much for Hadad for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so if you guys have any other question or comments, drop it under the comment section. So see you in the next one.